We just found out those $600 stimulus checks could go out as early as tonight. CBS reporter Skyler Henry is live in Washington with more on that and what President-elect Joe Biden is promising to do about vaccines when he takes office. Skyler.
Hey, Juliet, good evening to you. Well, those who are eligible and have their direct deposit information set up, like for the earlier stimulus payments that we saw earlier this year, they could start to see money in their accounts as early as tonight or tomorrow. Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin said that paper checks will be mailed out tomorrow. Now, this comes as we still aren't necessarily sure what will happen with the Cash Act to get those stimulus checks up from $600 to $2,000 in the Senate. But as you mentioned, President-elect Joe Biden also came out today talking about what he wants to do to address coronavirus. Part of that is calling on Americans to wear masks for the first 100 days he's in office, as well as possibly seeing another coronavirus relief bill once he's actually in the seat.
We have to anticipate that the infections over the holidays will produce soaring cases counts in January.
President-elect Joe Biden addressed the ongoing COVID crisis from Delaware.
The Trump administration's plan to distribute vaccines is falling behind. I've directed my team to prepare a much more aggressive effort.
In response, President Trump tweeted, "It's up to the states to distribute the vaccines once brought to the designated areas by the federal government."
I'm ready.
Earlier, Vice President-elect Kamala Harris and her husband Doug Emhoff received their first dose of the Moderna coronavirus vaccine.
It is relatively painless. It happens really quickly. It is safe.
The Senate is back in session one day after the House voted to increase stimulus payments and override the president's veto of the National Defense Bill.
Is there objection to the original?
I object.
Senate Democrats objected to the Majority Leader's motion to set up a veto override for Wednesday, likely pushing it to later this week.
Soon this important legislation will be passed into law.
Senator McConnell blocked the Democrats' attempt to bring up a vote on the House-passed Cash Act, which would give $2,000 stimulus checks to millions of Americans.
We should not adjourn until the Senate holds a vote on both measures.
Several Senate Republicans have also voiced support for the increased payments, including Missouri Senator Josh Hawley, who tweeted, "We've got the votes. Let's vote today." Meanwhile, President Trump returned to his South Florida golf club Tuesday. On Twitter, he railed against weak and tired Republican leadership on the defense bill, and he repeated his call for $2,000 stimulus checks.
So, Skyler, as you were saying, the $600 payments should start going out tonight. But what does that mean for the $2,000 checks?
Right. So just to avoid any confusion here, what would happen is that if the Senate were to pass the Cash Act, this would actually be an additional $1,400 to those who qualify, not an additional $2,000. But the problem is we don't necessarily know what Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell will do and if he will try to tie some other bit of legislation, such as what the president had been calling for in terms of voter fraud, or looking into that and trying to put limits on social media companies, if he's going to try to tie that into some sort of legislation into this bill, which essentially would be a poison pill of sorts. But we do know that there is a growing list of GOP senators, as you saw in the piece, who are calling for larger stimulus check payments. But it'll still be a tough challenge, as there are a lot of members of the GOP who are fiscally conservative.